Hey, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to talk about the books I read in September. I was actually getting ready to film a different video, and then I thought to myself, did I film my wrap-up for September? And I looked back, and no, I did not. So this is a sort of a late wrap-up for me. I normally don't wait this long to do a wrap-up, but it slipped my mind. So yeah, we're gonna get into it now. September was slower than I thought it was going to be. I did start my internship for school, so I've been working and still going to class 2 nights a week. So I've been getting a lot of audio books in because I do have a commute, a 30-minute commute to my internship job, which is going to be my real job after I graduate, which is really exciting. So yeah, I get a lot of audiobooks in. But other than that, physical reading has been slower. So I had 4 books that I did read though. I read 2 print books, I had 2 audiobooks, and then I did have a DNF this month, so let's dive in. So the first book that I completed in September was A Nearly Normal Family by M.T. Edwardson, and I listened to this one on audio. And this one is about a young girl, well, a young woman named Stella, I believe her name was. It's been a while since I read this, so I'm like, gotta really test my memory here. And she is arrested for murdering someone. And the way the book is told is the whole first third of the book is told from her dad's perspective. And her dad is a preacher, pastor, whatever you want to call it. And then the second part, the second third of the book is from Stella's perspective. And then the last third is from her mother's perspective. And her mother is a criminal defense attorney. So I really liked that you got those 3 different points of view. I think it made the book more interesting because when you first are introduced to Stella, it's through her father. So some of the stuff about her, you feel differently when you then get to her perspective on a lot of the things that her dad talks about and you see it through her eyes. It sort of changes things. So I just thought it was really a really interesting approach to the book. As far as the, I guess, thriller or like mystery aspect of it, because the whole thing is like, did she or didn't she? You know, did she commit this murder or not? I thought that the reveal was slightly predictable. I wasn't completely shocked by it or anything like that, but I did enjoy the road that we took to get there. So it wasn't a bad book. I did like it. I gave it 3.5 stars. And then the next book that I read in September, I actually did a whole vlog about. I read The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer, and I did a books and baking vlog for this book because the book had a recipe in the back. So I turned it into a books and baking vlog. And so I go in depth in that video about that book and the recipe. So if you want to check that out, you can go check out the video. Then I finished A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston, I'm not sure how to say it. This book took me forever to read. I started this book on August 20th, and I didn't finish it until September 23rd. Granted, I did stop for a little bit to read something else because I had a library book come in, which I'll get to. So I stopped reading this for a little bit, but still, it took me forever to read this. But it is a book about a woman who is traveling to, I think it's like upstate New York or something, for like a book club reading retreat sort of gathering. And she, on the way there, runs into some car trouble and she stops in this little town. And this little town turns out to be the setting or the town from her favorite book series. So it's the exact same town. All the people that live there are the characters from the book series, except one. There's one character or person who's not a character, and you sort of, that is one of the driving forces, I think, of the book for me, was like, who is this person? And why is he here if he's not a character? And so yeah, she spends a few days in her favorite book's setting. And I liked this. I loved the concept because I think the concept is so cool. And that's one of the things about Ashley Poston's books that I really like, is she does have these like romance books, but they have a little touch of like magic or supernatural, whatever you want to call it. And she doesn't attempt to explain it. There's no need to explain it. It's just, it is what it is. And you just enjoy it. And so I did enjoy this concept, and I did find the book overall to be very cozy, because the town is kind of like a, you know, Stars Hollow sort of vibes, just like a little town, cozy, and that's the vibe it gave off. So I did like this. The only thing was, like I said, it did feel very slow, and oddly enough, I wished it had a little more romance, which I know, who am I? But it didn't have a lot of romance at all. And I could have actually used some more of that. But otherwise, I did like this. Didn't like it as much as the Dead Romantics, which I really, really enjoyed. But this one got a 3-star from me. Then I had my DNF for the month. I DNF'd the last one by Will Dean, and I made it like halfway through the book. And the reason I picked this up was because I saw a few months back, Kayla from Books and Lala was vlogging, and she was reading this book, and she reached the sort of reveal. There's a big reveal, like, I think it was like, it was over 100 pages in is what I remember, right? And she was kind of like, it just really surprised her, and she really enjoyed it. And so I was like, okay, I gotta know what this twist was. So I started reading it, and it was feeling a little slow, honestly. I guess I should tell you what it's about. So it's about this woman who's on a cruise ship, and first night in, she wakes up in the morning and everybody on the ship is gone. Her boyfriend that was with her, every person, passenger, crew member, everybody is gone. And she's just on this big giant ship all by herself. And it's like, what happened? Why? Da da da. So about halfway through, we get the big twist, and I didn't like it. So much so that when I saw that, I'm like, oh, this is the direction the book is going in, I'm done. So I DNF'd it, which is a bummer because I did spend so much time, you know, halfway through before I decided to quit, but I just didn't like that twist. It just wasn't for me. I didn't care, so I DNF'd it. So this is gonna be going back to the library. Then I finished out the month with my favorite read of September, and it was a 5-star read. So exciting. I read We Used to Live Here by Marcus Clewer? I don't know how to say this, sorry. So much buzz about this book, and everybody that I saw that was reading this book was loving this book. So I was like, okay. I put it on hold at the library, and it said that the wait was going to be forever. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll read it when the hype is over, I guess. But then I got the alert that it was ready. So I picked it up. Of course, there's a 2-week hold, and there was a long line of people waiting for this book. So I had to give it back to the library, and I had not even made it halfway through the book. So I went out and I bought a physical copy, and I don't mind that I did because I ended up loving this book. I gave it 5 stars, like I said. And it's about our main character, whose name is Eve. She has just moved into this kind of rural house with her partner, and she's there one night by herself, and this family comes knocking on the door, and it's a husband, wife, and 3 kids. And they're like, hey, the dad was like, hey, I used to live in this house when I was a kid, and I just want to show my family, like, can we come in? And the story sort of goes from there, because I feel like that is a story that you could very easily put yourself into and say, what would I do if somebody came knocking at my door asking to see my house because they lived there before? Like, it'd be really kind of weird, right? Not for me, because our house actually, we're the only people that have ever lived here. So that would definitely be suspicious if somebody came saying that they used to live in this house. But anyway, so I loved the concept. And then the book was so tense, so creepy. I loved the atmosphere of this book. It made me feel very similar to how I felt when I read I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. Just this very unsettled, I want to crawl out of my own skin feeling because I don't know what's going on. I just know that I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable. I'm on edge. what's happening. The reason this book got 5 stars was the vibe that it gave off. And there were so many things about it that just had me thinking and had me second guessing and kind of going back and like looking over things, because kind of dispersed throughout the book, but like throughout the text, there are these documents that at first you're like, what does this have to do with anything? Like, why is this here? But then you sort of start to connect the dots, and it just ends up being a really good story. And I know people have also compared this to House of Leaves, and I would say, yeah, it definitely also has that sort of, just again, where you're just kind of confused and you're trying to put things together. And there's a lot of like multimedia sort of things. It definitely has that vibe as well. But I also just loved the way that this book was kind of open for interpretation in the end. I know how I feel about it. I have my own thoughts. And if any of you have read this and you want to talk about it, feel free to message me. But I'm pretty certain about the way this book panned out and what happened and the way I feel about it. But I love that it is open to interpretation, that you can kind of say, is that really what went down, or was it this, you know? And I love books that do that, books and movies. Another movie that sort of it's a completely different sort of movie, but that also kind of had you questioning what you were seeing on the screen. It was Pan's Labyrinth. And just that sort of feeling of, is this really, am I being tricked here, or like what's going on? I just love books like that. Books, stories, anything like that. So yeah, this book was awesome. Super creepy. Super creepy. There were times where I was reading this like at work on my lunch break, and I was by myself in the office, and I was like, I'm very unsettled right now. I'm very creeped out right now. And it was like the middle of the day, you know? So yeah, if you are thinking about reading this, I highly suggest you do. If you want to be creeped out and you want to be confused and all that, this is a great book. 5 stars, loved it. All right, that is it. Those are the books I read in September. Please let me know down below what you read. I would love to know what you guys have been reading. And yeah, I hope that fall season is treating you well, and I will chat with you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.